Let's just ask right from the jump, because it was the name that moved the needle the most yesterday. Adam Jude from the Seattle Times put out a really good piece. Jeff Passan here with us. Nice to see you, my friend. And as you could imagine, the name that just stirred the pot the most was one Alex Bregman. Do you think that there is any possibility in a contract that's got an opt-out at the end of the year that you could rent Alex Bregman if you're the Seattle Mariners for the next 2.5 months?
I think there's a question of could versus should versus would.
All right.
Could they? Sure. They have the money to do it. They have the prospects to do it. They have the motivation to do it. And for that reason, should they? Absolutely, they should. Alex Bregman is potentially the most impactful guy to move at this deadline. And if you're a Seattle Mariners team that's kind of treading water right now, in a playoff spot, but like clearly weaknesses, and the most striking of those weaknesses right now, third base, then yes, you should, because you have the ability, you have the desire, you have everything in place. Would they? I mean, we get back to the same question that we do every offseason. Would the Mariners go out and spend real money on a guy who's going to improve their team? And up to this point, they have not shown a willingness to do that. Now, yes, Brock, he can opt out after this season. But man, if he doesn't, that's $40 million a year for next season, with the ability to opt into another $40 million in the 2027 season. And it's just not John Stanton's style to do that. So I'm not trying to pigeonhole an owner here and say that he would not do that. I'm just saying history tells us he would not do that.
Hey, Jeff, on that, I'm curious, does this have anything... Bregman is a Scott Boras client, correct?
That is correct.
Does that have anything to do with this? I mean, we haven't had Seattle hasn't seen a Scott Boras client in over 25 years. Does that have anything to do with him potentially not coming to Seattle?
I think because the contract is in place right now already, it's a little different scenario. Like, you're not negotiating with anybody else potentially. There are no other teams that are going to be involved with the terms. You're just inheriting what's there already. And so I think the Mariners would go into this with eyes wide open about that if Alex Bregman has the kind of production that you are hoping that he would have, then he would probably opt out, and those last 2 years at $40 million would not be your issue anymore. But you also have to account for the fact that a $40 million average annual value is something that only a handful of guys in Major League Baseball have. That is Shohei Ohtani, Juan Soto, Aaron Judge territory. And as good as Alex Bregman is, he is not Ohtani or Soto or Judge. So if you're the Mariners, do you feel like, beyond John Stanton, if you're Jerry Dipoto and Justin Hollander, do you feel like $40 million a year when this organization has already set budgets, when you have Logan Gilbert, who's going to be getting a raise in arbitration. You have George Kirby, who's going to be getting a raise in arbitration. You got Cal Raleigh locked in. You've got Julio Rodriguez locked in. But there are other elements of this payroll that are bound to go up. And if you're the Mariners and you know that your payroll is going to be finite, and that a move like Bregman could potentially keep you from doing more in the winter, is that something you want to do? Do you want to go and splash it around? And I think, guys, there's a really good argument to be made that the answer is yes. I mean, I have heard Mike Salk on this program multiple times detail the number of dollars that they have spent on this panoply of guys that they've brought in, trying to piecemeal together an everyday lineup over the last few years, and there have been failures. And Alex Bregman has been one of the most consistent players in Major League Baseball over the last decade. So If you are going to invest in a guy, say one who has shown that consistency is a worthwhile investment, particularly considering that free agents can be a little hesitant to go to Seattle. They can be hesitant because of the ballpark. They can be hesitant because of the travel. It would be frustrating, I think, for fans, and understandably, like, hey, we could have just gone after him in free agency and signed him and not had to give up prospects to get him, but that's the sort of thinking it's not realistic right now. They did what they did in free agency. Now this is a completely different situation, time, and we look at an American League that, yes, is wide open and has a lot of teams that can make one of those runs. But right now, the Mariners have a playoff spot, guys. And you can't discount how impactful that is on a team's trade deadline plans. I mean, 3 weeks ago, the Kansas City Royals thought that they were going to be buying at the trade deadline. Now, I don't know. I don't think that they've proven themselves all that worthy of doing so at this point, giving up prospects, potentially harming the future because they're just not playing well. So a lot of this is going to be dictated by how the Mariners are playing.
As you were flying across the pond yesterday, and we missed you yesterday, had you jumped on, I was going to obviously start this conversation with one Cal Raleigh, who hit his 33rd home run on June 30th, tying Ken Griffey Jr. and only looking up at Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire, who were a little more enhanced. Yeah. So can you just add any context to what Cal Raleigh is doing here through the first 80-some games of this season, Jeff?
Yeah, it's an unprecedented first half for a catcher. And unprecedented is not a word that means it's been done a few times or, is done once a decade. No, this is like a game, guys, that has been around for 150 years. And Cal Raleigh is doing things that no catcher has done before him. And I think it's pretty awesome to see. And I'm just excited that the rest of the country, those who maybe haven't understood what Cal Raleigh has done in this half are going to hear about it all weekend and all week at the All-Star game. Mm-hmm. Like, this is going to be, I'm not going to say coming out party nationally because, social media does its thing, and I think baseball fans know who Cal Raleigh is. You see it in the All-Star vote, like he's going to be the starter at catcher. All of those things are great, but it's really just going to be a chance to get a spotlight on him in the Derby, starting in the game and likely batting among the top four, in this absolutely stacked lineup that the American League's going to have, and getting flowers that are much deserved because the guy has been, for everyone else, a revelation, but for the city of Seattle, the best version of Big Dumper that we've seen yet.
Jeff, if teams continue, or for Cal to continue this pace and this home run hitting barrage he's on, how important are the guys around Cal to kind of keep teams from pitching away from him and putting him on base?
The intentional walk is not quite what it used to be, though we did see earlier this week James Wood with the Washington Nationals get intentionally walked 4 times. We have seen Aaron Judge get intentionally walked now and then. But to your point, we don't really see it very often with Shohei Ohtani. And why is that? Because Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman are lurking there. When you got that kind of protection behind you, you're not going to get intentionally walked. And right now, I wouldn't say that Cal Raleigh has that kind of protection behind him necessarily, but I'll say this. I don't know what the lineup would look like with Bregman in it. Bregman probably would hit in front of Cal, actually. But having any sort of superior protection than he's got right now would mitigate any desire from teams to potentially intentionally walk him.
I tweeted last night, Jeffrey, and it was kind of a tough night, obviously, for Cal and Julio, 0 for 8 with 5 strikeouts. But tweeted out last night that as Cal goes, so go the Mariners. I think I've heard that from one Jeff Passan this year. As Cal goes, so go the Mariners. As Julio goes, so goes the ceiling of the Mariners. Is that fair?
I like that, Brock. Look at you.
Thank you.
The quarterback's a wordsmith.
I mean, I don't
too.
use.
My
I don't.
goodness.
I mean, I don't use words like panoplia or whatever you did earlier. But that panoply. But I don't know. I look at Julio and I just see a guy 4 years in. He reminds me, if he was a quarterback, he reminds me of Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, when he came out, was number one pick in the draft. Trevor Lawrence was held in such high esteem. Trevor Lawrence is 6'4", and throws a ball 80 yards, and had tremendous accolades. Is a super talented guy, super toolsy guy. Has shown flashes of greatness and leading a team to a playoffs. But at times, you're just like, okay, what are you, Trevor Lawrence? 4 years in, like, what are you? 4 years in, Julio in the batter's box. I'm like, what are you, Julio? Are you a power guy? Are you on a base guy? Are you an aggressive guy? What are you? You're just kind of searching for that identity, and I think that kind of leads to my thought there that as Cal goes, the Ams go. As Julio goes, the ceiling of their success really goes.
Brock, you know why that works? Every week before I come on the show, just to give you a little sense of my nerd process here, I always go to Fangraphs, and I always go to the splits, and I pull it down to the part of the menu that says last 7 days. And it's interesting to look at the last 7 days of Julio Rodriguez every week because they are never the same.
Right.
Some weeks he has great power and struggles to get on base. Some weeks he's got a high batting average but a low slugging percentage. Some weeks his wins above replacement or lofted up there because of his defense. And I think what we've seen with Julio, and the reason that we can't put our thumb on who is Julio Rodriguez, is because we've never seen that consistent version of him that's doing the same thing week in, week out. And it's not like an inconsistency where you have like these valleys, these nadirs, and then these absolute huge peaks. It's usually just somewhere in the realm of, he was good this week. Like he was good enough this week. And good enough goes a long way. It's just a different version of good enough, right? So it's going to be interesting come August and September, and hopefully for the Mariners October, to see which of those goods that the Mariners get, and particularly whether they are what the Mariners need in those moments, because there are going to be some weeks like this week where Randy Arozarena is going off, and when you have that protection behind Cal, when you have that power in the lineup, it goes a long way, and Julio doesn't necessarily need to provide it. But the Mariners reach their peak when Julio Rodriguez reaches his. I think that's a really reasonable and fair thing to say.
Jeff, on Julio, like these inconsistencies, would you, if you were to point to one thing to credit this, would you go toward maybe the pitcher's approach toward him? Would you go toward maybe his plate discipline? Would you go to him tinkering too much out there, trying to change things during the season? What would you kind of put a lot of these consistencies on?
I think ultimately it probably goes back to the plate discipline. I mean, like over the last 7, he has not walked, right? And so we'll see those weeks where it's like, Julio's going to be at his best when he does something that he's never done before, and that something is like a 350 plus on base percentage. If he can get there and get a little more power, he's in the MVP conversation because the defense in center field is so good. But I think one of the frustrating things with Julio is you look back historically, guys, and his walk rate has gone down every year of his career. And his strikeout rate is down this year too. So I can't sit here and be aggrieved by where he's at the plate. It's just the area in which you hoped that he would find a little bit more consistency or have developed a little bit more skill. He has not to this point. And it's going to be interesting to see over the course of time whether he does. Because, look, if this is a guy who can get his walk rate from, sub 6% to 8, 9, maybe even 10, maybe he's just a tiger with the stripes and that never happens. But we've seen that happen occasionally with guys. And if that's the case, I think it unlocks something different from him. I think that is where he finds the best version of himself, being more selective with pitches, not chasing, and taking advantage of this immense natural skill set that he's got that has tantalized us for as long as it has, and continues in his 4th season now for us not to look at Julio Rodriguez as what he is, but as this unfinished project, as this dream of what still could be.
Okay, I think you're like me, and maybe like some of the audiences as well, Mr. Passan, with us. This time on a Wednesday, we missed him yesterday, because you circled back to Bregman, and you thought about this lineup, and you thought about, wow, if you go J.P. Crawford and Alex Bregman and Cal and Randy and Julio, I mean, that just looks and feels like a kind of playoff lineup. So, back to your should. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I think you might be leading me to where I was going to go.
Could, should, would. Would the Red Sox ever really do this? And if so, what would it cost, you think, from a prospect standpoint?
Would they? I think if they continue playing the way that they have, a sub-500 baseball team, they absolutely would. Okay. What would it cost? It's going to be interesting because we got to look at other teams that need third base solutions. I don't know if the Yankees and Red Sox would ever pull off a deal like this, but the New York Yankees sure could use a third baseman. I don't know if the Detroit Tigers would pay for this, but perhaps the Tigers' most inconsistent position has been third base. And on top of that, the Tigers were the runners-up to sign him this winter. I don't know if the New York Mets are going to need him. They have Brett Beatty, they have Ronnie Mauricio, and now they have Mark Vientos, who came into the season with all-star aspirations and has just been a real disappointment. But surely the Mets have the finances to go out and do that. And then the Chicago Cubs, another team that was in the mix for Bregman this winter, and arguably the best team of all of those that I've mentioned so far. Their lineup is awesome. They're a run-scoring juggernaut, but at the same time, adding a guy like Bregman makes any team better. So I'm not saying there's going to be competition for Alex Bregman, and that's really what the price is going to depend upon, Brock. If the Red Sox can get all of these teams reasonably engaged, the price will be high. It's not just going to be Harry Ford at that point. And I think the Red Sox would be inclined to potentially package Bregman, but where I was going is, what would you rather if the Mariners are going to have to go out and spend some prospect capital? What would you rather get if you are Jerry Dipoto and Justin Hollander? Would you prefer Alex Bregman and a second piece from the Red Sox, or would you prefer Eugenio Suarez and Josh Naylor from the Arizona Diamondbacks?
Well, I think
that's not a rhetorical question, guys. I'm curious, as people who follow the Mariners every day, which of those deals do you believe would be superior for them?
Oh, the Bregman one is just tantalizing because he brings so much freaking edge. I know that.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, Salk's going to join us in about 35 minutes to talk about some of this, and then Jeffrey, he's going to rank the wedding. We're running out of time. Let me just tell you, the wedding was unbelievable this weekend. It was such a blast, and it was one of those kind of surreal moments that you're just thankful for. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you in the final minute to see your son, right? You're a baseball guy. You love this game of baseball, and we get to see the report that your son's going to get to go play college baseball. How freaking cool for the Passan family was that?
Awesome. you see them grow up, and all you want for your kids is for them to find something that they love and that they're willing to dedicate their time and their passion and their effort to. And, you know, it could have been anything with Jack. Like, it is. You know, he does speech and debate and made nationals this year. And, he's got a wide variety of interests. But the fact that baseball is one of those, and that he worked hard enough to put himself in a position to go to the school that he wanted to go to more than anything. Nothing, having seen this, nothing in the world is better than watching your kids succeed. Nothing at all. And yours did this weekend, and congratulations to you. And with like 10 seconds to go, I have to ask, what kind of wedding guest is Mike Salk?
The best.
We're talking. Are we talking like on the dance floor, like getting people going? How many buttons did he lose by the end of the wedding? That to me is the real gauge of wedding guest.
I think I sent you the video, the 11-second video of him dancing near the end of the evening, right?
I didn't get it.
Oh,
I gotta go look at that.
Oh, I'll resend it to you. Drink in one hand, glow stick in the other. I think the jacket off at that point, feeling warm. Jeffrey, I've said this. In fact, my brother said it to him. He said, why don't you guys do afternoon drive? That way, Salk, you can have some drinks in you, because when you're warm, you are the warmest, friendliest, happiest, just the guy that everybody wants to be with. And, Salk was terrific. So thank you, my friend. We're up against it. But that rhetorical question or non-rhetorical question, I have a sense we'll probably be talking about next Wednesday, and then the Wednesday after, and then the Wednesday up to the deadline, and we'll have all sorts of fun with it. That is Jeff Passan. He joins us every single week. We love him. We're late. We'll dig into that question, that exact question, when we come back on the other side. It's Brock and Salk.